So today I'm speaking to Raveen Bains, who is a recent alumnus of Hertfordshire Business School. Raveen is speaking to us as a remote worker currently with Microsoft, but I'm going to just ask her to introduce herself, say a little bit about what she studied when she was with us. So Raveen, over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, like you said, Raveen Bains graduated in 2018 from the business school. I studied ITMB at the university and then did the 4-year degree, including my placement year. And now, like you said, at Microsoft in role. Yeah.
Excellent, thank you. So we'll come back to Microsoft at the end, but I want to ask you a little bit about taking a placement year, and so if you could just explain to us where you went on placement for a year.
Yeah, so I went to GSK, so the global pharmaceutical company based in the UK, which I'm sure we're all, especially at this time, we're all aware of the great work that they do. And I think I'll touch on my bit about getting the placement and actually, going through that journey. And if I'm being honest, I in my second year was very 50-50 about doing a placement. A lot of the ITMB folks on my course chose not to and chose to go into their final year, which was interesting. And I've seen this massive opportunity of GSK and actually just applied with a number of different ones, not really thinking about it, thinking I'd follow my friends through to final year and not do the placement, but actually managed to go through stages of the placement application, and really had to make a decision as to what I wanted, whether I follow some friends through to my final year and stay in my comfort zone of knowing people in my final year, etc., or actually do something slightly different and something that I wanted to do but wasn't quite confident. So I'll leave it there, and if you've got any questions, then
okay, great. So yeah, the next question is kind of where did you get, if any, support and help with making placement applications? How did you go about that? Who did you seek help from?
Yeah, that's a good question. So a number of people. There's the careers team has had a look at my CV a couple of times, gave me some pointers and stuff that I went away and worked on. I looked on LinkedIn a lot about other people who were also applying for jobs, and graduates who had got in my network in terms of how they've positioned part-time work and things like that, to really understand how people are wording these things and what are the key kind of skills I can be going and taking to that assessment centre that I had lined up. So I think LinkedIn and the careers team at the university really did help me to kind of pursue that opportunity.
Great, yeah, and it's really important to sort of do that research, isn't it, up front, so you get a feel for the culture of an organisation.
Yeah,
Not only just
absolutely.
to see if you're fit, but just like you said, seeing how people are wording things, so
Yeah,
you can kind of play to their language as well.
yeah, no, absolutely.
So what would be your top tips, in terms of having been through that process of making those applications, going to the assessment centres, all of that? What would be your top tips for Black, Asian and minority ethnic students in the business school who are, just at the early stages of thinking about placements?
Yeah. So there are a number of things. I think, be confident. I think if we look around us and we look in big organizations, we may not see the kind of BAME community represented as much as we'd want to in those kind of corporations. If I talk about my own place of work at the minute, there's a huge emphasis on improving those numbers, and it's a journey we're on. But I think if we don't, as a student community, start thinking about how we can start influencing that, because ultimately we're the generation that are actually going to have that influence over years, and we have to be that talent that not only starts representing the kind of BAME community, but also have the skills and the CV, to back us with the degrees and everything else that comes with that. So I think, be confident in your abilities right now, and actually that it's not just a change that we should see in work spaces and between HR teams and things like that within the corporate world, but also us as individuals to kind of take a bit of ownership there, And even if you do, and a number of day in day out on my job currently, I walk into a room full of, or I used to walk into, now join a call with a room full of maybe middle-aged white people that you'd assume in the IT industry, right? But actually, we have to start making ourselves feel a bit uncomfortable, to start making that change, and slowly and surely we'll absolutely get there. And so I think it's about really believing in yourself and your skills, but also trying to be a bit of that change. And then just touching on the previous question of really do the research, because there's nothing like coming well equipped to those interviews or the assessment centres, or the Skype interviews or whatever the process is, and to kind of have that, but also make sure it's a right fit for you as well, because it's absolutely, you're just as much a part of that kind of choosing as they are, right? You may get a response from 3 or 4 different organisations, in which case you can have that the ability to pick what company you kind of want to go for. So yeah, I think there's a few things in there.
Right, yeah, I think you're right. There's the kind of motto, be the change you want to see.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
whilst it is a burden, isn't it, on the first people that are doing that, but it's kind of the only way forward, and just sort of ploughing that furrow. I think
absolutely,
it's difficult, but it's the only way ahead. And actually, we're working with Microsoft to enable BAME students to gain a little bit of experience to put onto their CV for future applications to any graduate employer. So there are various things you can do also to build your CV, aren't there, in terms of then making those applications. Excellent. So my next question is oh, sorry, I just lost my questions then. What do you think, in that vein, really, challenges, if any, for Black, Asian and minority ethnic students when considering a placement or whilst actually on placement?
Okay. I think it comes back to that, having that faith and belief in yourself. I think also trying to understand, and I do this on a daily basis. It's something I think we will all go through in our careers and stuff. It's not just a point in time, but understanding what skills you have, because sometimes we're through part-time jobs, whatever it may be, we overlook those skills, and so then we don't know how to articulate it to an employer, for example, and how to make those links. And that was the beauty of my placement. As soon as I switched my mindset that my degree is not a sprint, it's a marathon, and therefore if I spend that year to invest in myself, it's going to do me a world of good. And I do think, actually reflecting on my graduate scheme assessment centre, everyone there had done a placement. I don't think there was anyone that hadn't. And majority of my assessment centre and interviews, 95% was what I did on placement, is what I was talking about, plus backed up with my degree or whatever it had been, to link those two things together. So I'd really want to encourage people, when I speak to anyone, whether it's like family, make sure you get something that gives you that experience, because it really is invaluable. So I think have that belief in yourself when you're going through those early stages of, but do I have those skills to actually do a placement, or how do I work with the careers team, reach out to myself or whoever, to kind of get that get those kind of join the dots there, because there are really good skills that I try to use for my part-time job that kind of helps land you your next kind of roles and stuff. And also think long term as well, like it is a very competitive place out there, and that placement year will give you that experience. And also friends, some of my closest friends now, I really have to say, are from my placement. And I'll also tell you a bit later how actually my Microsoft role is very much linked to my placement, and actually I'm working with them day in day out now, so it's also has really helped in my graduate role as well. But I'll talk a bit about that. So yeah, a few things, but ultimately believing in yourself and changing that mindset to think this isn't a sprint, so take your time and take the opportunity.
And on that front, how many placements did you apply for before securing the one that you got?
So I think I was in the lucky stages, because it was quite late on, and I think there may have been 3 or 4, and I did all those hard, like PwC with their challenges and stuff, and I thought, no, this isn't for me. This assessment centre in itself is not, it's not working. So I'd already decided to kind of take myself out of that, and so GSK and another placement, and GSK worked so well for me because actually they've got offices just 10-15 minutes down the road, and at the assessment centre they said, oh, that we would be able to transfer you to that, and that was the winner, you know, their flexibility for me,
Okay.
to be like, actually you don't need to relocate, you can just work in the offices that are 10-15 minutes down the road. I was like, wow, this company is really willing to kind of you know, go above and beyond to try and get us in and stuff. And so yeah, so that's
That's
kind of the,
brilliant, actually, because
yeah.
I know that for a lot of students, that kind of having to move somewhere is preventative. So if you're saying that you can have that conversation, you know, with multinationals that have several sites, and that you can, you know, find flexibility like that, you know, that helps people not to rule it out, you know, if you've got commitments that you need to stay put for. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think the other bit as well, and if I look at the internships that we do in Microsoft, you know, the interns are really given real life experience. They're in front of our customers, they're demoing our products, whatever it is. That this isn't a you're at the back, you know, behind the scenes. Like, that mentality has to change, because companies aren't taking that approach. You know, they really are giving you really valuable experience. And you know, a number of them are leaving with a graduate job in their hand and stuff, and I don't
Yeah.
think there's anything better and any more kind of that's one thing ticked off your list, but it's also some kind of real good um enthusiasm to go and absolutely smash your final year as well, because you know you've
Mm,
got to do it to go back there and stuff. So you know,
yeah.
even seeing it in the company I am now, that internship role is so crucial to all our teams. So
Yeah, and it's a really important point that you make there, because I hear from certain students, you know, that they want to get out into the graduate labour force as quickly as possible, rightly so. You know, if you're
yeah.
wanting to sort of, you know, start quick and grow your earnings, but actually the people that make that quickest start are often people who have taken a placement year, and whilst that elongates your time at university, it gives you that kind of hook, because so many graduate employers do then kind of use that internship time as a kind of an assessment that they then will offer you a graduate position before you even leave. So, you know, people are missing out on that opportunity by thinking I want to
Absolutely.
get into the graduate workforce quickly, when
Yeah.
actually this is the pipeline for a lot of employers. It's a
Yeah.
large pipeline, isn't it?
Yeah. And to your point there, actually, you know, we are now as a company, one of our targets is out of the percentage of internships that we do, how many are we offering graduate jobs, and that retention of talent. And you know, so our CVPs and our CEOs and stuff across the globe are targeted on that. So there is a real they've been very intentional about how they bring talent in, and how do we make sure we keep them, and let them
Mm.
grow within the business as well. So you know, don't just think, oh, this is just 12 months. That 12 months can lead on to so many other things
Yeah.
that you just don't know. So yeah,
Yeah, it's not a holding activity, it is the start really for a lot of
yeah.
employers. Excellent. So just moving on a little, just thinking about you know, I think you've pretty much covered this, but maybe you can speak with some specificity. Kind of looking back to your placement, do you
Mm,
feel that it was worthwhile in terms of
mm.
where you are now?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Yeah. So if I go as to why, I am now at Microsoft, and kind of long story short, GSK is obviously a huge customer of ours, and I'm now the account manager for that customer.
Right.
And reason why is because I had that experience, and I, over other people, were able to lean on my network that I had when I was there, and my mentors that I had when I was on internship. And my manager said, you know what, the whole team, I want to give you that shot. And we've done great things and stuff. So that small network that I had, that I'd kept on LinkedIn or whatever it was, allowed me to flip the coin. And now all I do day in, day out is actually work with a customer I used to work at. And I always throw that in. And little things like just understanding the org, right? And who's who and things like that. That
Mm.
year that I was there has actually helped me now in my role. And so all I do day in, day out is work with GSK, just on a different side. But it's been like being able to pick up the phone to what was my old manager and say, you know what, I'd love to have a conversation about X, or my mentors that were there. So that is just a prime example of, I wouldn't even thought I would have had to bring up my placement post interview, but actually, you know, we had an opportunity to take on an account, which is huge for us, and there were so many people, some very senior people who would have loved the opportunity to take this account on, but actually, because I had that year's experience, you know, our management were confident to kind of give me that. So I have been for the last sort of year and a half at work, just solely focused on GSK. So, you know, you just don't
it
know
really
as
gave
well.
you that edge then,
Yeah.
that made you stand out from the crowd. Yeah. Fantastic.
So, yeah.
Okay, we're nearing the end here. Just sort of a couple of more things. Just thinking in terms of your CV, what did your placement year give you in terms of skills and things to put onto your CV? So before you'd even made it to the interview where you could tell them about, you know, the link with GSK, what sort of skills did it give you?
I think your placement will, without you even realizing, will give you some really basic. And I mean that in the kindness of my heart. There was we had a new starter, and things like, you know, scheduling meetings, looking at other people's diaries, email etiquette, things like that, the real fundamentals, you know, you learn, right? And that was something that I've noticed that actually not everyone, you know, when I was trying to onboard someone else not so long ago, has that, or, you know, the ability to have the confidence to network. We use network so much, networking, you know, in our careers, but actually you build that with it, whether it's your peers within your placement, whether it's your management, whether it's a team you get to to go into. You start to learn, how do people do this? Like, how do you go and talk to almost a stranger and build that confidence and that relationship with them? And how do you then keep it going? Is it LinkedIn? Is it, you know, coffee? How do you kind of keep that alive? So there's those kind of basic skills that I think, whether you know, work for another big corporate company afterwards, or whether it's a small employer startup, they are transferable skills. And also it helped me rule out what I didn't want to do. So actually I realized quite quickly that maybe I don't want to work for a company where tech isn't the sole focus, because I realized that was my huge passion, and actually made me think, you know, when I go back into graduate schemes, I want to start looking at tech companies, whether it's startups, whether it's, you know, a corporate company. And so it really made me understand more about what I want to do in my career, which I don't think at university I ever knew. As well as helping me with my dissertation and other things as well. Again, my dissertation was all based on what I did at placement. So, you know, there is a link there as well. So, yeah.
And did you find either, I mean, I know at Microsoft there is a BAME staff network, isn't there?
Yeah.
On placement, were you involved in any kind of BAME staff activity or network, or did that not?
Yeah, again, so they have a really strong, so I think every company, whether it's really small or really big, or how loud we shout about it, has that. Again, I was very fortunate enough to be in a placement year where there was a BAME community, and quite a strong one, especially in the site, an office I was based in. And so, you know, I was really lucky, and we did some charity initiatives. We also worked with our corporate team to understand, you know, what are the initiatives they're trying to drive in the BAME community, how do we share that and stuff like that. So we did get involved as a team on some of that, and you get those opportunities. And what was also nice is to collaborate with other BAME students, and also hear about other people's university experience, or, you know, and even now we're all in different places and companies and stuff, but there's probably about 6 of us that normally meet up every 3 months, and we tend to meet somewhere near the offices because we're all familiar with that. So you get that kind of network as well within your placement year.
That sounds really like a really positive experience, and you sound like you've got some lifelong friends from it, so that's a nice outcome as well.
Yeah.
So my final question really is differences between going on placement and any other kind of part-time jobs that you've had previously, because a lot of students will work part-time, perhaps in care or retail, catering, and often they don't even put that onto their CVs. And they sometimes are held back from putting themselves forward to different sectors because they feel they don't have relevant experience. So what would you say are the biggest differences between a part-time job that you've had before and your internship or your year in industry, and then where were the transferables as well?
Is a good question. So I did a lot of things part-time. I think my latest one was I worked for Currys as one of their sort of sales advisors before my placement, and two very different experiences. I think, you know, when you're in retail and you're on a shop floor and things, you know, you learn how to engage with what are your customers and staff, and you build that rapport. You understand how your business internally works, the rhythm of the day. You know, if you have a team meeting in the middle or in the morning, or a huddle, you understand the kind of concepts and stuff, which is great. And I think, you know, for my placement interview, it was all about that. It was what are your skills? What are you passionate about? And I actually took forward some of the charity initiatives and some of the charity work that I've been doing, and used that as an example. And through there, without you realizing, leadership skills, you've got communication skills, you're showing that you can start something and finish it, and things like that, you know, basic skills like that and shows you're passionate about something, you know. And I think there's a real that's what employers want to see, that if you've got passion and drive and you're willing to learn, whether that's through your part-time job, you can kind of show those skills, or whatever it is, make sure you really shout about it, because no one's going to shout about it for you. So you've got to, you know, really just be confident. That's where I was lacking, and I was lucky enough to have a mentor who was in the ITMB year above me, who had done his placement at GSK. Somehow we got connected, and he shared what he presented at his placement center. So, you know, this community that we have at the university, without that student's kind of input on my placement year, you know, you just don't know. So that in itself really helped me as well. So really reach out to anyone, you know, peers or the careers team, because people that have gone through it themselves, that's invaluable experience. So, and me, I'm more than happy just to help students if they want that as well.
Excellent. Thank you so much. That's really a positive story, both of the internship year and now your graduate position, and also the stories about, you know, building a network, which is so important to do, isn't it, for then finding future opportunities, and also, you know, feeling comfortable and having a friendship circle through work as well. So really positive story, and thank you ever so much for sharing that with us.
No,
and
my absolute pleasure.
I'm sure if students want to link with you on LinkedIn,
absolutely,
that's the best way to contact you. I think you're easily findable on LinkedIn.
Yeah, no, brilliant. Yeah, absolutely. Happy to help.
Excellent. Thanks ever so much for your time today,
Yes.
Raveen.
No worries. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.